Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from Go Vols 247 and the Swain event, it's Ben McKee. Ben McKee, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on once again. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing pretty well, man. A little bit of nice little rain this morning. Like, I'm doing all my prep and doing all my work this morning. I'm like, man, this is kind of like some good morning nap potential here. This is dangerous because it felt like a Saturday morning here. Nice little rainy Saturday morning on my end.
I did. I just wrapped up with Swain about 45 minutes ago, and that's when the rain started coming down. It's like, man, a nap sounds great right now, but I got to speak to my guy Chase, and then
Yes.
Tony Vitello is keeping me plenty busy these days.
Oh, I thought you were going to say then Tony. I'm like, yeah, that's quite a combo. Many are saying if you could have any kind of Tennessee combo on a Thursday morning, you want to go from Chase to Tony.
I agree. Chase Thomas and Tony Vitello. Who more would you want to talk to consecutively?
Oh, I don't know.
Name a better duo.
Name a better duo. Shump is like driving off the road as he hears this.
Shump's not listening to anything that I'm on. Let's get that straight. He'll listen to you, but he won't listen to me.
Oh, there you go. I don't know. We'll pull. Shump might. You never know. He's always lurking in the weeds. You don't know
if he's golfing or not.
Oh, that's true. It doesn't seem like he works as much these days. It just feels like he talks a lot about the course and golf and Titans and literally anything other than the important stuff, you know?
He puts a good show on social media to make it seem like he's working.
Yes.
When in reality, he has scheduled tweets while he is golfing to make it look like he is working. The only work that he does is scheduling tweets to make it look like he's working.
And I tell people all the time, I'm like, Ben McKee's the one who's actually grinding. He's never scheduled a tweet. He's the one out here constantly just making sure that he gets his information out, articles, podcasts, Swain event, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's no question about the level of genuine work you're putting in. With Shump, it's just a little bit more questionable.
Your check is in the mail. That's all I know.
There you go. Ben McKee, we have something to talk about. I have to pick your brain here before we even dive into the questions I want to throw at you. I was listening to Swain event earlier this week, and Jason Swain made a good point to you when you were talking about, like, it doesn't mean that if Tennessee starts multiple quarterbacks next year, that means things are not going well. And Swain made a good point of, like, well, if you look at if a guy's not playing well or if an injury happens, whatever, you can still come in and Tennessee can still be winning games with poor quarterback play. And that's something I think is important for a lot of folks to remember, is like the last 2 years, Tennessee has not had good quarterback play. Now, granted, very different circumstance the last 2 years, and you can get into why quarterback play was below average for the last 2 years. Different, like I said, we can dive in. There's more nuance there, but it was unquestionably below average quarterback play the last 2 years. This year, but you also won 19 games with below average quarterback play. You were shut out for a month straight in the first half this past year with bad quarterback play. You survived one of the worst offensive showings I've seen in Neyland in a long time against Texas A&M in 2023. You won that game with one of the more difficult offensive showings. The defense just raises the floor so much for Tennessee. And I think when Tennessee goes into that 12 personnel shell that they showed last year, and I mean, honestly, what you had with Jalen Wright in 2023, what you had with Dylan Sampson last year, maybe you have that again with Peyton Lewis. But I think fans who might be panicking or might assume that things did not go well for Tennessee or are not going well for Tennessee in the win-loss column because quarterbacks are getting rotated a little bit. I think Tennessee is unique in that way where I don't think that would be the case. I think Tennessee can win 8 or 9 games, even if they start minimum 2 starters this year.
I agree with that thought. My rebuttal would be, is 8 or 9 wins good enough? And the answer is
I think 9's good enough this year.
Maybe so. I do think there's certainly some circumstances to this season, but just generally speaking, the general year-to-year expectation of Tennessee football is to truly compete for a championship. And I guess now with the playoffs, it's to routinely be competing for a spot in the playoffs, and you should be pretty frequent participants in the playoffs and hosting playoff games. It's unrealistic to think that it'll happen every year. It's a hard thing to accomplish. Very similar to baseball. It's like, oh, Tony Vitello is the greatest. Like, he should be in Omaha every single season, when it's harder than ever to make it to Omaha because of parity in the sport. And I think with revenue sharing, you're going to see even more parity in college football. So not that it's an easy thing to do, but that's still the expectation, that you are a perennial playoff contender, and just getting there is not good enough. You need to get there, and you need to make some noise. So, but with that being said, to your point, like, there's obviously some circumstances and context and reasons as to why 9 wins would be good enough. Those aren't excuses given everything that took place with Nico. But I do think that this roster is still good enough to get you to 9 wins, and I feel like that is a very fair expectations. If you told me you can sign on the dotted line for 9 wins right now, or you can risk it, I'd sign on the dotted line right now, and take it, run with it, hope that George McIntyre or Jake Merklinger is ready for a big 2026 and then get back into the playoffs then. But the offensive line and the defensive line, it is going to look a little bit different, especially the offensive line, and I lumped the offensive line into the defense because I think the line of scrimmage will determine just how good this football team is. Of course, you can't have awful quarterback play. The turnover-prone nature of Joey Aguilar worries me a little bit. The inexperience of Merklinger or McIntyre, if he were able to pull off an upset victory in the quarterback battle, that worries me as well. But I think the line of scrimmage is going to determine how many games Tennessee wins this year. And I think you feel good about the interior of the offensive line. I think you feel a little bit better about the tackle situation. I think Lance Hurd needs to take a big step forward. David Sanders Jr., he'll be very good for a freshman, but he'll have his lumps as well, just like Trey Smith did, Darnell Wright did, all those other 5 stars that came through, Wanye Morris. But I still really like the defensive line, even though you lose a lot of guys off of last year's line. Jackson Moore is probably my favorite player on the team. I think he's just the next Omar Norman Lott in terms of being that second round, third round pick. I think he's going to have a great year. I love the passion and the energy he plays with. Josh Josephs, Caleb Herring, and it's their time. Tennessee needs a big year from them. You've got Bryson Eason, who has a professional career ahead of him, and you have several other guys who are capable of making plays as well. So, and there's several other positions we could talk about that you feel good about that will help you get to 9 wins. So I certainly think it's within reason, as long as the quarterback play doesn't go from average to bad. As long as you don't get bad quarterback play, this roster is still very capable of, I'd say, winning anywhere from 8 to 10 games. I wouldn't bet on winning 10 games, but I think it would be fair to, put that within realm of a projection, even if I think 8 and 9 is more likely.
I think that's fair. I do think what's interesting too, when you look at just quarterback, you talk about Jake and George. I'm a big Merklinger guy, and I think it's so fascinating because everyone, like Faison Brandon, obviously blown up this week at Elite 11s. The Tristan Keys Faison Brandon combo that fans are thinking about right now, and there's a lot of reason for optimism. I mean, I think Faison's a better prospect than Nico was. Like, I think that is something that, and you didn't think Tennessee would add a better prospect at quarterback than Nico within 2 years, but that's exactly what Heupel and the staff have done. But again, the last word is the most important there. It's prospect. Like, that's what people have to remember about these 5-star projections. It's just, there's 32, and you're projecting that they could be a first-round pick if everything goes according to plan. It doesn't mean they're coming in and they're going to play like a first-round pick in the NFL draft one day. That's just what they can ultimately get with their tools, their projection, that kind of thing. That being said, what you had this year, and the reason that you really wanted Nico for this final year, is not for the wins, because I think there's a reason that the 9.5 to 8.5 only went down 1 after Nico. Is I think this team was kind of quarterback proof either way. Like, yeah, maybe if Nico breaks through, you get to that 10, 11 wins, and you kind of have that special season and get back to the CFP. We'll see. But this team is built on their defense now. They're built on their front seven. The secondary is now a strength of this team. There's a path to the secondary being even better than a year ago. You're only going to have blue chippers in the linebacker room for the first time in the Heupel era. I'm pretty confident that this defense is going to be just fine and raise the floor really high. I think the offensive line is going to be better than you've had the last couple of years too. I know you talked about Hurd. I mean, Hurd graded out better than Darnell Wright did his first year in Heupel system last year. So Hurd came on a lot better down the stretch last year, and it's a big year for him because if he has a great year, he might be a first-round pick, second-round pick next year in the NFL draft. So for him, there's a lot of reasons for him to be locked in and to be a big-time five-star left tackle that he was billed as coming in from LSU. David Sanders, I think you can't get worse right tackle play than what you got last year with the combination of John Campbell and Dane Davis. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. It was just bad. And there's a lot of reasons that was the case, but there was no question. It was just bad. And you were in 12 personnel a lot because what was going on the right-hand side of the line. David Sanders, even if he's not like a plug and play, like A+ at right tackle, he's just got to be a B minus. And you've got a really, really much better situation for who is ever under center this year. You're always gonna be able to run the football with Heupel no matter who's under there. You've averaged 5 yards per carry all 4 years. But you had a clean battle at quarterback next year. And you've talked about this too, Ben, where if you had Nico this final year, it felt like either he balls out and goes to the NFL or it doesn't go well and he's in the portal because you have 2 years of evidence where it's like, this is just not working. That being said, you were going to have Faison versus Jake versus George as a clean winner to spring to summer battle and just let the best player win. And then you solve it on the field. And it's one of the most intriguing, interesting quarterback battles at Tennessee in a really long time. Now, though, if Joey, and I think we're on the same page, I don't think Aguilar is going to be good. I don't think Aguilar is going to be a good fit here. I don't think he led FBS in interceptions last year and at 14. And to put that in context, that's 2 more than Carson Beck had a year ago. And it felt like Carson Beck was throwing a lot of picks for the Georgia Bulldogs last year. He was part of a staff that got cleaned out at App State. It was one of the worst seasons at App State they've had in a long time. Now, it doesn't all fall on Joey Aguilar, but that was a preseason G5 champ who was getting preseason CFP buzz. Like that was not a rebuilding situation. He was walking into it. Go back and read. Like there's been some revisionist history about Aguilar and App State in 2024 and all that. That being said, I don't think he's a natural fit. I don't think he's someone Heupel and the staff call. And if this Nico enters the December portal window, I think he's way down the list. I think he's in the 20s and 30s. Like there's a lot of Big 12 quarterbacks. I'm going to go ahead and guess that Tennessee is getting involved with before they call Joey Aguilar, if that's the case. If the Nico stuff happens in December, January, whatever. I don't think it's a clean fit. I think it's just more of like a veteran body. Let's hope he can get it. Let's hope. But I mean, it's 3 systems in 6 months. He just spent all spring learning a completely different system than what he was learning with Heupel. Merck spent May, throwing with Mike and Braylon and company. He has those relationships. I think he's a good leader. Has a lot of starts under his belt at Calvary Day. Threw a lot of passes his junior and senior year down there in Savannah. By all accounts, had a good spring. I think there's some natural leadership qualities to Merck that I don't think it would be that big of a surprise to me if he gets an opportunity this fall and he just runs with it and Tennessee wins enough games and Tennessee just gets comfortable, because ultimately, as cool as the Faisons and the Nico are as a potential Heupel superstar quarterback, the best version we've seen is the Hendon Hooker machine, just one read, go and just operate at a super high level, run when things break down. If it's not there on that first read, go. Don't throw picks, high completion percentage. That is the best version of Tennessee's offense we've seen thus far in the Heupel era. They're number 1 in scoring. For me, if Jake can do that, if he gets an opportunity and he can be that Heupel machine and make those quick reads and read defenses and Heupel trusts him over the middle, he's not giving up that job. Like that's the best version of Tennessee's offense. And then it changes everything in the fall, in the winter, and next year's battle, because then you're like, well, Jake will be going into year 3. And if you get to 9-3 with Merklinger, like, are you really going to do a competition in the offseason? Or is it something like a Jake Fromm, Justin Fields situation in Georgia years ago, where it's like, I mean, he's just winning games. You can't go away from him now. And then you have potentially 3 more years of being your starting quarterback. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think people have to understand that things have changed in a big way in terms of where the trajectory is and who's going to be QB1 for Tennessee long term. Is I think the possibility is there for Merklinger and George, even George, to, if they get an opportunity this year, to change the course of that room and be the long term guy for Tennessee and going forward. Is that fair?
It is fair that they have the opportunity. I'm not necessarily banking on it. I would be surprised if either of those two guys just took the job, ran with it. There's no quarterback competition next summer. I would be surprised if that's the case. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think Jake Merklinger has the potential to do so, but I think it's more likely that that doesn't happen than it does happen, because he is a bit of a more developmental quarterback, more of a developmental prospect. I still think he's a year or two away, even with probably not 2 years, but certainly another year away from like truly being ready to be a full-time SEC starting quarterback. And he did make great strides in the spring. Had a good spring by all accounts. They tweaked his throwing motion, and the ball was coming out even better. But it's just a different beast, being a starting quarterback week to week in this league, compared to what you're doing in the spring. So he has a great opportunity in front of him. Both guys have a great opportunity. I don't think George McIntyre has been ruled out of it, ruled out of the competition either. I'm interested to see how well they coach up Joey Aguilar, because the turnover stuff does worry me. But he also has a big arm, and he also has a nice set of legs on him as well. And I think he fits more the mold of the Hendon Hooker, um, revitalizing the career mold, if that makes sense, more so than Merck does. So I do think kind of being turnover prone is part of your DNA, much like we see with Jameis Winston and so many other quarterbacks. I don't know that it's a trait that you can necessarily totally coach out of somebody, but I do think good coaches can limit the turnovers, and get them to see things in a better way that helps them make better decisions and, get the football to where it needs to be. So I'm not as down on Joey, but I do have my concerns, and I do agree with what you were saying that, like, if it's the winter portal window, he's probably not coming to Tennessee. I mean, he wasn't even Tennessee's first, second, or third choice in the spring window. There were other guys they were hoping that would jump into the portal, and he was kind of like, okay, they reached a point of where this is the best guy available. Let's take him, run with it, see if we can coach him up, and see what we can make happen this year, and also bring along Merklinger and McIntyre as much as possible. Maybe they take the job and run with it. So I certainly think that's a fair thought. Merklinger and McIntyre have a phenomenal opportunity in front of them, especially Merklinger because he's been here a year longer. But I'd be lying if I said I thought that was going to happen, where he just plays well enough this season, to where there's no competition next offseason. And it's not that I'm down on Jake Merklinger or anything. I think he has the skill set to be a good starting SEC quarterback. I just think he's a year away. And I think his timeline has been sped up for him. And I don't know that that's the best thing to throw him in the fire. He wasn't going to beat out Nico after all, and he is quarterback play, as you mentioned, has been average the last 2 years. Nico was average at best last year, and Merklinger wasn't going to be able to beat out Nico this season. And the other thing is, like, I don't trust the receiver room. So I think that's also going to hold Joey Aguilar and Jake Merklinger, whoever's the quarterback. I think the receiver room is going to hold back the quarterback position. They've got a lot of talent in the room, but it's a lot of young talent. And I also kind of think that they're a year away as well. You need the offensive line to be more consistent. So I just don't know that it's the situation as a whole offensively is just advantageous for a quarterback to take the job and run with it.
I love it. On the baseball front here, Ben, of all the Tennessee transfer portal additions they've added thus far, who do you think is going to end up being the most important in 2026 for the Vols' success?
Well, I don't have a long list to pick from at the moment. I don't think Clay Edmondson or Mason Estrada make it to campus, the two
Both?
right transfers. I would be surprised. just because typically guys with that stuff at that age, they're typically eager to sign with teams, and there will certainly be teams that give them an opportunity through the draft. Again, the Major League Baseball draft is so weird in the sense of their agents are constantly communicating with teams prior to the pick, like, hey, if we pick you in the 7th round, are you willing to sign for this much? If we take you in the 13th round, are you willing to take this? And there will be some high school signees that are highly ranked for Tennessee that have a high number, like Levi Clark last year, Tegan Coons last year, that had high numbers and they didn't budge because they were content with coming to high school. I just don't think that applies for older guys, especially guys that are transferring up a level, because you are risking quite a bit with Clay Edmondson and Mason Estrada if their draft stock potentially is as high as it's ever been. It depends on how you want to look at it. If they come to the SEC and they ball out, obviously their stock will be even higher next offseason, but they do run the risk of what if you come in and you're average? Then your draft stock is even lower next year. So I'm not trying to insinuate that it's a foregone conclusion that they're gone, especially with Clay Edmondson or Mason Estrada. I think it's more likely than that Edmondson is gone just because of the velo and the stuff at that arm slot is something that teams will want. And I just think that those older guys are more eager to sign given where they are in their professional careers. If Clay Edmondson makes it to campus, he would be my answer as the guy that I think will be the most important out of what they've gotten so far, because I'm a big believer in his stuff. I think that he's AJ Causey 2.0. Brady Frederick and Bo Rudy from ETSU and Kennesaw State. Those are the ones we know for sure, along with Garrett Wright. I was wanting to call him Garrett Mitchell. Garrett Wright from Bowling Green. Those three will make it to campus for sure because they're not draft eligible. And I really like Brady Frederick's stuff just because you don't see that in the SEC. These guys are used to seeing Marcus Phillips every weekend plus velocity. And here comes not only is it a different arm slot like AJ Causey, where his knuckles are basically dragging the ground, but he's throwing like 85 miles an hour. It's just such a different look, and he mixes in a slider and a changeup. So I don't know that he's going to be the long inning type of guy that AJ Causey was, but in terms of being a guy, Tennessee lacked a guy that you could turn to in the bullpen, and you knew they were going to come in and get out. So there was no consistency out of your bullpen this year, and I think Brady Frederick is going to be very, very consistent for Tennessee. So as of right now, I think he's by far the most important one if Clay Edmondson does not make it to campus.
That's interesting. The weird part to me is, and Ben, you know this better than I do, like where you saw immediately coming out, where you knew you weren't going to have Liam Doyle next year, obviously, and Tony and the staff love having the lefty righty in the lineup and the pitching staff. Like you want to have both. But you look at next year and I'm like, who they're targeting and who's coming in for the portal. Like if you add Mac from Rutgers, let's say they do, I mean, that's another righty. Like Tegan Coons is back, Dylan Lloyd gone. You look at Braden Krenzel and his possibility of being a weekend starter, and then Anson Siebert, who should be back and will absolutely be in that mix. And then you think about which freshmen are going to make it to campus. It's just, I don't know. I guess to me, it just looks like is there a lefty arm that can make it to campus of the freshman who could be a weekend starter next year, or does that seem unlikely too? Because if not, it's going to be 3 righties in the weekend rotation, right?
As of right now, that's what it's looking like. Now, with that being said, kind of the big storyline that is picking up a lot of steam as we get towards the end of June is that there's a real possibility that Cruz, Schoolcraft, and Cameron Appenzeller make it to campus. And those guys are both lefties, that they are the equivalent of a 5-star baseball recruit, that they are Tristan Keys, they're David Sanders Jr., they're Nate Ament, especially Schoolcraft, who's the number 7 overall player in the country, according to Perfect Game. I think Appenzeller's 17, 18, top 20 recruit. Those guys, there's a real chance that they make it to campus. Tennessee will be sweating bullets. I believe Tony Vitello is going to do the whole MLB Network drafting coverage in the first round again, and he's going to be nervous this year with with Appenzeller and Schoolcraft, because in the fall that they were consistently projected as top 15, top 20 picks in the first round, and as of late they're not. ESPN had a new mock draft on Wednesday morning. Neither one was in the first round. Schoolcraft did not go to the combine this week, and I think part of that is playing the game, trying to up the leverage. But legitimately, there is a chance that both of them make it to campus. So I know they'll be freshmen and they'll be young, but if you could land those two, I mean, it would be absolutely massive because of their potential, but those would be your lefties. Michael Sharman hasn't entered the portal yet, but I don't think he's a starter anyways. And when I say yet, I'm not trying to insinuate that he's going to. I'm just saying he is one of the lefties that has not entered at the moment. So yeah, they're for the first time in without going back and truly looking. I mean, it seems like they lack some variance in the portal, but I'm sure that's something that they're obviously aware of and something that they'll try to address. And if they feel too righty, then I'm sure they will try to identify a lefty or two that they can bring in. They'll really be, I don't want to say up a creek, but that they would really be in a tough spot from a having left-handed pitcher standpoint if you don't get Schoolcraft or Appenzeller to campus. But that would change that conversation significantly if you're able to get both of them on campus, because they're obviously very talented, but they're also throwing from the left side.
With all that being said, let's do a rapid just 2026 guess here. You ready? Left field 2026. SEC play. We're going to say start of SEC play.
They don't have outfielders right now. I think Tyler Myatt, the Walters State kid, is in left field or right field. I just don't know.
You don't think he's the DH?
No. I maybe he ends up being the DH. But he told me, because he played second base this year at Walters, he told me that he anticipates playing the corner outfield at Tennessee. So I frankly think they add another outfielder, or maybe a Jackson Walker, a local product who redshirted this year, was a top 100, top 150 player.
He's kind of forgotten about. Did he rake earlier? I feel like someone made a note if he hit a huge bomb somewhere he was playing, right?
Yes. Yeah, he hit a home run. He's playing up in the Tri-Cities in the Appy League.
The Appy League, that's what it is, yeah.
A home run in one of his first couple of games. I think day one, day two. So he's a possibility, but they don't really have a lot of true outfielders. So I think they're going to add somebody, which is the Bowling Green kid, catcher at Bowling Green, but they truly are going to play him in the outfield as well. So I think Maya ends up in left or right, and then I think somebody else ends up being another outfielder out there that we just don't know a name of yet.
Okay, third base.
Chris Newstrom. And Newstrom's a possibility out in the corner outfield as well. I think third base is more natural position, but maybe the roster construction demands that he goes out and be's one of those corner outfielders. So he is certainly a possibility, but my lineup on June 19th would be Chris Newstrom at third.
Interesting. Short?
Manny.
Okay. Second?
That one's interesting because I want Jay Abernathy in center, but I think that they are going to give him an opportunity to play the middle infield. So I think that one determines on who you bring in. I think they're trying to bring in an infielder. I think they will end up bringing in an infielder. They're recruiting a couple.
The Cal kid?
Certainly a possibility. The visit went well last week, but Tennessee was his first visit, so he's still doing visits. The Maryland shortstop has popped up within the last 24 hours. That was a report.
But he's a high draft risk, right? Like everything I'm seeing there. Like
next year's draft.
Oh, it's next year's draft. Okay.
Yes, he's kind of like a Gavin Keelan. So we'll see. I haven't heard much buzz from Tennessee's end of things, but they're also trying to be real quiet this offseason so that one of their freshmen doesn't enter the portal. Try to prevent that from happening. Not that I have anybody in mind when I say that, but just you don't want to piss off Manny Marin, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You are already worried about bringing in the Bowling Green kid. You don't want to piss off Levi Clark or Stone Lawless, so you say that you're going to throw him in the outfield as well. So they're going to add a middle infielder. I'd be stunned if they don't. So that's probably your second baseman, or Jay Abernathy. I don't think it's Ariel Antigua.
I don't either. First base. It's Levi, right?
I think so. And not to continue to be a cop out on your questions, but I think that correlates with the catcher's position. And I think catcher and first base will be dictated by how much Stone and Levi develop defensively behind the plate.
Yeah.
I
Stone's
think
interesting.
I think if
Final
Levi
year.
has a big offseason defensively, then he'll maybe be the catcher. But I have Stone catching as of today and Levi playing first.
I like it. Early hoops practice sessions we saw this week. I meant live up to the hype for you, Ben McKee?
Yes. He's the real deal. He is the real deal. For a June 17th practice, I was as impressed with the basketball team as I could be for their third week of they were starting their third week of summer practice. It's going to look different. The strengths of the team are going to be different. I think opposing teams are going to have a really difficult time defending the front court because I think the front court's going to be able to do a lot of different things. I think they're going to check every box offensively, defensively. I don't know that they're going to do one thing in bulk. Like, I think they're going to be able to step out and shoot threes pretty consistently. That doesn't mean that they're going to shoot them at the rate that Chaz Lanier does or Jacoby Gillespie or Nate Ament does. But Carey and Phillips and Estrella, their shot looked really nice on Tuesday. And I think that they're going to have a legit chance to step out and knock down some shots, especially Estrella and Phillips. They looked comfortable on the perimeter. And I had a quick conversation with Cade afterwards. I went up to him and was like, man, your shot looked really good today. And he was like, yeah, man, it's feeling really good right now. So I was as impressed as possible. And Nate he makes everything. He makes everything. Maybe I caught him on a good day, but he was making everything during their drills, during 5-on-5. Then he puts the ball on the floor and drives to the rim and dunks on. I think it was Dwayne Brown. It was Dwayne Brown or Jalen Carey. I think it was Dwayne Brown.
Did he look the part to you? Because he's gotten a lot of buzz where it's like Dwayne Brown might play.
He looked good. He looked good. I don't know how much he'll play just because he has so many guys in front of him.
Yeah.
But I think like if injuries strike, then for a freshman, I think he'll get in there and be able to handle his own. He was scoring on Felix Akpara, and I was joking with Shump. Shump was sitting next to me, and I said, Zach Randolph Jr., Zebo Jr. over there. I mean, it's old school. Give me the basketball on the block. Let me go into a post move.
Barnes loves guys. Like, he's been missing that kind of dude. Like Barnes, like that's Dwayne Brown. Like, that's a Barnes special right there.
Yep. His arms are long, man. And he was in better shape than I thought he would. I thought he would maybe look a little bit sloppy. Most big men are coming into college. He looked in better shape than I thought.
Was Dexter Pittman a Barnes guy at Texas?
I can't remember.
I feel like he was. I wonder if that's like the comp for him at the college
Maybe.
level.
I was impressed by Dwayne. Again, third week of – you would not have thought it was his third week of practice in college.
Yeah.
He was not shying away. I was very, very impressed. Him and Troy Henderson, they are – I don't know that they're going to become all SEC players. They're not going to be busts. They will be good college basketball players, whether it's at Tennessee or elsewhere. That they are the typical Barnes recruits, get them in, develop them, and they're going to be productive. I don't know to what extent, but they're not going to be bums or busts or somebody that sits on the end of the bench and never sees playing time and then transfers somewhere else and is not heard of ever again.
Well, the thing too, I was talking about this yesterday on the radio show, Ben, that I wonder this year it has to change, right? Because you're expecting the 5-year rule that just everyone gets 5 years to come, not in time for Z and Gainey, but the expectation like this time next year, I think you and I would be surprised if there's not just the red shirt stuff is gone and you're just 5 years. So I wonder if that comes into play for Barnes this year of like, hey, you brought in a lot of freshmen, but you don't have to worry about the red shirt part of it. Like, if Troy can help you and you think he can help you, he should play. If Dwayne can help you, don't worry about the whole red shirt stuff anymore, because I just think you need to operate on the assumption that it's just gonna be 5 for everybody sooner rather than later, even if it's not in time for Gainey or Z to come back. I don't know. I think in my guess, like my estimation is like, I think you might see more freshmen this year that Barnes gives an opportunity that he likes and throws them out there that he trusts a little bit, see what they do, because he doesn't have to worry as much about, hey, I got to protect the red shirt here, right? Like, am I overthinking that, or is that something that might change this year?
No, I agree. I think that I think you'll see Troy Henderson and Dwayne Brown. You're obviously going to see Nate Ament. He is again the
Amari
real.
Evans too, right?
I think you'll see Amari. Amari was not practicing on Tuesday because he
Mm.
was under the weather, something very minor. I think Amari can help defensively right away. I think he's Jemai Meshack 2.0 showing up on campus, and the offensive game is a little more developed, more advanced, especially with the shot. So I think Amari's. I would bet on Amari playing more than Dwayne and Troy, but I think that I think they'll both be able to help. I think Troy will play more than Dwayne, just because there's a logjam in front of Dwayne Brown. He probably is going to deserve to play more than he will actually play within realm of expectations. He's just got JP and Felix and Cade and Carey in front of him. He's got four older guys in front of him. So I just don't see his path to playing time being easy. Whereas Troy Henderson, he's the backup point guard right now. It would take them taking Amari Abram off the ball and putting him on the ball, and they'll. I mean, Nate Ament, it's Ament, not Ament. I'm trying to correct myself.
Wait, which one is it?
Ament.
Oh, I kind of like Ament more.
I do like Ament more. It's easier to say.
We were talking about the other day, like Manny Marin. Doesn't he pronounce it? We're just saying Marin, and it's not Marin.
No, it's not Marin, but he was fine with going with Marin just because most Americans have always butchered his name and he's used to it.
He's
so
just
he's
like, let's just make
whatever.
it easy. Like you're not going to get it. Let's just keep it moving.
Yeah. So I think it's Marine, if I'm not mistaken. But he told Tennessee, he's like, Marin's not the correct way, but whatever. Just roll with it. But yeah, it is Ament. Tennessee has voiced that the last two media availabilities we have had. It is Ament. So he'll handle the ball some, but like Troy Henderson is not dealing with the logjam of veterans in front of him the way that Dwayne Brown is. But I was equally impressed with both, and I think both can help, especially Troy. I didn't get to see much of him running the offense or whatnot. We saw one day. I was impressed by his shot. His shot looked really good, and again, he looks like a good basketball player. He's not going to be this random 3-star that they took. And Troy was not ranked when he committed. It's not that, right? They weren't taking Nate Ament's AAU teammate to help get Nate to campus. Like Troy Henderson, like I said earlier, I don't know to what extent he's not going to be a bust, whether it's here or elsewhere. He's going to be a good college basketball player.
Yeah, and I think that would be it's fun. And I was telling folks this week, lean into Nate Ament because it's like Dalton Connect. You probably will never see a transfer as successful and as galvanizing as Dalton Connect for a season at Tennessee again. You probably also won't get a recruit as high as Nate Ament again at Tennessee. Now, never say never, but it's unlikely. Just lean into it. Be like, why can't he be our Kevin Durant? Why can't he be this year's Cooper Flag for college basketball? Like, he's going to be right there. He has all the tools. He has the look. He has, it would not be at all surprising if Nate Ament is one of the best overall players in college basketball next year. That's fun. Lean into it. To me, I'm like, it's all going to look so different anyway without Z and Meshack in 2025 to 2026. But I don't know. Just lean into it. Nate Ament, this is going to take some time. Nate Ament is going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. And just, there's no question to me that hoops of the big three next year is the most interesting and the most potential high ceiling, but also, man, it's hard to go to 3 straight Elite Eights and then get to the Final Four. That's really, we make Omaha look. Tony has made getting back to Omaha look easy, making the supers over and over again look easy, but 3 straight Elite Eights would be, depends on the draw, and we're a ways away from all that, but man, that would be very, very impressive, even with the talent that Barnes has brought in here. Final thing, and I'll get you out on here on this, Ben McKee. Best individual season in 2025 prediction: Mike Matthews, Peyton Lewis, or Ethan Davis? Who do you think has the best individual season of those 3?
Mike Matthews.
Oh, not even a hesitation, Ben McKee.
He's the best football player of those 3. And He's going to deal kind of like what I was talking about with Dwayne Brown and Troy Henderson. I think he's going to be in position best to get the football most. I think Deshaun Bishop is going to lead the team in carries.
Is he staying on the field to lead the team in carries?
Mhm.
Okay.
Say that again.
Is he going to lead the team? Like, is he going to be able to lead the team in carries if he can stay on the field? Like, the man has not been able to stay on the field for the last 2 years.
You're right. You're right. Now injuries were not a concern in high school when he
Yeah, but he
carried
also
the
had a
football.
billion carries in high school.
Yes, which is what I was about to add is like, okay, now these injuries is it a byproduct of how many times he carried it in high
Yeah.
school? But it sounds like they've been more freak accident
Yeah.
things than it's not like it continues to be a shoulder or continues to be a
Right.
knee. It's like, no, he broke his foot or like something like serious that it was more of a freak thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? It could be his body is worn down from what happened in high school. But even if Deshaun doesn't lead the team in carries, if it's Peyton Lewis, it's not going to be by much. Even with I think Deshaun will lead the team in carries, but I think it's going to be running back by committee. Star Thomas is going to get his bulk. Peyton Lewis is going to get his bulk. Deshaun's going to get his bulk. I think Deshaun's the best overall running back in the room. I know Peyton Lewis was ranked higher as a recruit. I have higher expectations for Deshaun than I do Peyton Lewis. I need to prove. I need Peyton Lewis to prove to me that he can make a guy miss. He can cut. He can go east to west. His lateral quickness. I know his straightaway speed is good, but I need him to prove some other things as well. Mike Matthews, like who's taking reps away from him?
Well, I mean, not taking reps, but I mean, they might be just being a 12 personnel shell even more than we saw a year ago.
But even if they're
And
in 12 personnel, Mike's still going to be on the field.
no, but they're not throwing. Like they're going tight ends or they're running that football, man.
Look, they're going to throw the football to Mike Matthews. They may not throw the football to anybody else, but when they do throw it, it's going to be to Mike Matthews. And I like Ethan Davis as well.
Yeah.
But Miles Kitselman is tight end number one. We'll see how he is coming off the injury. Maybe you need Ethan Davis more than I'm anticipating. But I'm also kind of like with Ethan Davis, it's like it's now or never. I'm kind of in wait and see mode
Yeah.
with him. We know there's a
A
lot
lot
of
of talent behind
potential,
him.
a lot of talent, a lot of potential, but it's kind of now or never. Tennessee needs you to step up. We need to see it with our own eyes. I think he'll have a good year. I just
Yeah.
don't think it'll be better than Mike Matthews. And I think Peyton Lewis will have a nice year. I just don't think it'll be better than Mike Matthews. Mike Matthews is he's different. There's a reason he was a 5-star coming out of high school and the other two weren't, quite frankly.
I'm a big Mike Matthews guy. Obviously, we went to the same high school. There is some bias there for me. But
Okay.
the thing I want to see with Mike is I want Mike and Boo on the field on the same side where those like those silly screens they were doing a lot with Brew and Squirrel that just never went anywhere. It was just one of those quick pay, and it was just Squirrel would ball down and it'd be like a 2nd and 8, and you're like, all right, yeah, great, this is great stuff. You do that with Boo and Mike though, who I think are your twitchiest athletes on the team. That makes it interesting. Like that is something I want to see where defenses are like, oh man, Boo and Mike on the same side of the field. I don't want to account for that. And I'm pro Braylon, but I don't think it's the same. I think the way that you really put fear in opposing defenses in the passing game next year is you put Boo and Mike on the field at the same time, because I think those are the two guys it'll be the hardest to tackle in space. And tackling has just never been worse at the football level. They just don't have as much time. They don't practice it as much. You want twitchy guys in the field as much as possible. And I mean, you saw like Dylan Sampson, one of the biggest reasons he was so good is he was so good after contact. Like guys didn't bring him down. So he took advantage of, and look, this is not a criticism. This is just a strength of his that he was good after contact. He was good that when guys did not wrap up Dylan Sampson made them pay. And I think Mike and Boo's your overall, I think, most talented player anyway. Like if you are able to put those guys on the field together, even if it's 10 to 15 snaps a game on offense, that's enough where you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with Boo trying to tackle Boo and Mike Matthews in short yardage situations. If you don't trust your guy deep, like those two, I think have the most potential to make guys miss and have that kind of switchiness that Tennessee has missed in the yak department for years.
I agree. I think it would give defenses nightmares and really concern them as well. I'm interested to see Boo's workload this season. He's obviously going to get a real chance on offense. I'm interested to see if how close it is to the Travis Hunter experience in terms of reps on that side of the ball. Not saying Boo's going to be Travis Hunter, but just in terms of how many snaps he takes offensively. I don't think it'll be at the same level as Travis Hunter, but how close are they going to get to that, to where he's a true two-way player, which is what he wants to be. But yeah,
he needs to be in the red zone too. It's just like when you get tight anyway in the red zone, you need guys like Boo in the field. Like I want Boo in there. I want Mike in there. I want Ethan Davis in there. I want mismatches and your twitchiest, hardest guys to defend on the field at that time. And Boo, I think, is one of those guys.
Totally agree. And kind of one of the things that was glossed over about the receiver room last year is, and you kind of just touched on it, but just not a lot of guys that could make guys miss.
Yeah.
And Boo and Mike will make you miss, especially Boo. So I'm excited.
Boo on punt returns is what I'm most excited about. Boo is going to house at least 2. Like Boo is you missed it with D Williams last year. It's just like, man, Tennessee, when they don't have a fun punt, like it's just kick returns are dead. Like it's just, you don't really get anything out of that anymore. But punt returns, Boo should have housed that one against Georgia. Like if Jalen McMurray has that block against Thorson where he doesn't mail it in, Boo's gone. And you saw like Jalen on the broadcast where he's like, oh, like you could see him grab his helmet where he realizes he, like if he had blocked Thorson, the Georgia punter, he would have sprung Boo. But yeah, Boo's going to house several. I'm excited. Boo Carter is the biggest. If you're Vol fans, if you're looking for the biggest reason to get excited about 2025, it's that Boo Carter, I think, bursts onto the scene as just your best player, and it's just going to be electric all the time.
Yep, I think he'll prove to be one of the best players in the SEC this season. Yeah. There's a reason a lot of SEC schools tried to get him to enter the portal back.
And it was a Michigan battle, like obviously at the time, national champs, and like you had to fight. And I mean, Colorado, who just had the Heisman, and obviously they saw some. Doesn't mean he's going to be Travis Hunter, but they clearly saw some comparisons to Travis Hunter with Boo Carter. So yeah, I think the sky is the limit for Boo Carter in 25 and beyond. Ben McKee, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Go Vols 247 this week?
Everything right now. I'm a little late, but about to post some basketball thoughts from watching practice the other day. Of course, a lot of baseball transfer news, which has slowed me down on the basketball front. So complete coverage of baseball and basketball from my end. And then, of course, Patrick Brown and Ryan Callahan have the football aspect covered as well. Big recruiting month for Tennessee. Tennessee just had a big recruiting weekend this past weekend. They're going to have even more official visitors in this weekend before the dead period. So football recruiting, basketball offseason, baseball beginning its offseason, everything that you can imagine that needs to be covered, we'll have it covered at Go Vols 24/7.
I love it. Go subscribe if you have not already and keep up with all of Ben McKee's great offseason work, as the season will be here before you know it. Ben McKee, thank you so much for the time, as always, my friend, and we'll check back in again very soon.
Thanks, Chase. I appreciate it.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.